let's begin. This is Dr. Naomi Kimishima, ID 422194. Hey, little guy. Tell me what we know so far about this.
Oh, right. The victim's 30-year-old Dennis Taylor. At 3:30 p.m., someone in the same building reported a fire. The firefighters found the body in bed 20 minutes later. He had a knife in one hand and a deep wound on his wrist. The door was closed and chained. It's being ruled suicide.
Nonsense. Is that your personal opinion or your FBI training?
Well, isn't that the most reasonable fitting explanation?
I thought people learned when they grew older.
Doctor, what do you mean by that?
Let's begin. Show me how this life's flame was snuffed out.
Well, Naomi thinks that this is murder, but the FBI thinks this is suicide. Let's go ahead and get this started. Does it want me to look at the computer first, really? I would rather go examine the corpse. Fine. Oh, I guess he could analyze that while we go to examine the corpse. Alright, let's take a look-see here. Let's take a look at the body first, see what we got here.
Is this a bruise? It's oddly shaped, though.
What kind of a weapon would make that? Huh?
There's something odd about the index finger on the right hand.
That's bent backwards.
Indeed. We can't say what's wrong with it for sure until it's sent in for analysis, though.
Is this blood?
This wound on the wrist is believed to be the cause of death. Even though this looks like a self-inflicted wound made with a sharp knife, there's something unnatural about it.
Right. No matter what your pain tolerance.
That's right. There's only the one wound on the wrist. A single slash, deep enough to reach the artery. No matter who it is, pain is an immediate response to a cut. No one should be able to make a single cut this clean and deep without flinching. I can't say this is proof of homicide, but I can't ignore this incongruity.
Is this all the evidence? Any more evidence around here? Of course it's like Atlas to have joke answers. There we go.
Yes, there appear to be spots of hemorrhaging in the eyeballs.
What would cause that?
This isn't a common condition. Perhaps I should ask Little Guy about it.
Alright. Now I think I want to take a look at the effects just to make sure I didn't miss any evidence. Oh, never mind. Huh?
Dr. Kimishima, the results of the examination of the knife have come in. Let's see, the knife itself is a cheap common brand sold all over the country. It'll be difficult to locate where the knife came from. The blood left on the blade matches the deceased's. Only his fingerprints were found on the handle as well.
What does that mean, though?
I see. At least one thing is clear now. That is...
That's... Now, this is the first answer I'm thinking of, but I don't think that's true. Because, the reason why I don't think it's suicide is because the killer could have, smudged the knife, like, you know, put the victim's fingerprints on the knife, and obviously the killer was probably wearing gloves, so it's not definitely a suicide, and there are very rarely definitelys in investigation. So I'm gonna say that the knife definitely cut him. Cool.
Yes. This knife is believed to have been used to slit the victim's wrist. Even then, we can't prove that unless we compare it to the wound.
Okay. So... let's put
The
these two on
shape
top
of the
of
knife
each other.
blade corresponds with the wound found on the wrist. This means that...
There we go.
Indeed. This appears to be an open and shut case.
I wouldn't say that.
Then again, this all seems a little too convenient for me.
Okay, what else?
There's no mistake. This finger is fractured. Can you send me the details? We'll get an x-ray performed as soon as possible. Oh, and I have one more piece of good news, Dr. Kimishima. I've received a recording from HQ, a witness's account.
Great, that will be useful. Who's the witness?
It's the deceased's neighbor. We've asked her some questions about the day of the incident.
Perfect timing. Maybe we'll be able to use her account to determine when the fire started.
Alright.
I'll send the data over to you. Please check it using the recorder in your room.
That's being analyzed. Oh, no.
Hemorrhaging in the eyes, you say?
Right, we were supposed to give this to him.
It's a condition called petechia, caused by increased blood pressure and spasms in the blood vessels. It's commonly found as a sign of death by asphyxiation.
Wait. Then the wound on the wrist doesn't make any sense if he died by suffocation.
Wait a second, that doesn't seem right. If I recall correctly, the victim... The cause of death was thought to be hemorrhaging from a slashed wrist. If the cause of death is asphyxiation, it's possible that we are dealing with a homicide.
Okay. Alright. There appears to be nothing more we can do here, so let's listen to the recording.
Yes, that's right. Oh, it's been hot lately. I've been keeping the window that faces out into the street open because of the heat. That's how I could hear my neighbor so clearly. It was, let me think. Around 3 in the afternoon? Yes, it must have been. I was watching Farewell Danny at the time. I heard this loud noise.
Okay.
I heard this loud noise from my neighbor's room. And then the fire alarm started.
A loud noise followed by the fire. That may be a clue.
Okay.
The way she described it, the sound doesn't seem to have been something exploding. Could the noise have been made by someone in the room? Or something else?
I'll see what else she has to say. You know what? We'll listen to the rest of this later. There's not going to be any more evidence here. Okay. Alright. Let's take a look at this. Okay, it's not those.
The room was sealed, and the neighbor heard the sounds at around 3 p.m. The fire occurred not long after that. What we can deduce from that is...
I don't see how any of the other choices make sense. This is obviously a gag answer. We don't know this for sure. And Dennis was definitely alive before 3 p.m. So I think this is right. There we go.
At least, that's all we can determine using our current information. The deceased was alone at the time, so there's a good chance he made the noise. Still, we need more information to see if there was anyone else in the room when it happened.
Okay. Yeah, let's listen to that recording again.
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
Yes, that's right. I've been keeping the window that faces out, and that's how I could hear my neighbor so clearly. That's how I...
Oh, oops.
It was, let me think. Yes. I heard this loud noise from my...
Yeah, let's just start here.
I was really surprised. I think it was about 10 minutes. I looked out the window and saw smoke coming from next door. I ran over to my neighbor's door, but... nobody answered when I pounded on it. But I had to see if there was anyone in there, so I pulled on the door. It was chained from the inside. It was chained from the inside, and no one answered me when I yelled. Yes, the fire truck came soon after that. Yeah. A firefighter cut the chain on the door and went inside. My neighbor? No, it seems he lived alone.
Okay, that makes sense.
Oh, but I remember
An electrician?
came at around noon.
So an electrician had come to the deceased's room that day at around noon.
Okay, that's...
That was much earlier than when the fire supposedly started, but we should investigate it.
Hello.
Ah, little guy. Perfect timing. It seems an electrician entered the deceased's room around noon on the day of the incident. If he's talked to your people, can you ask them for the recordings of the interview?
All right, I'll contact them immediately.
Please do. How's the analysis going?
Well, regarding the fracture on the corpse's finger, the right index finger was fractured by an external force. It's rather odd. There are no signs of healing in the fractured area.
No traces of healing. That would mean...
Well, this answer isn't correct because it would have healed by then. If the bone was broken recently, then there would be some signs of healing, and this is obviously a gag answer, so it had to have been after he died.
That's right. Reactions to injury, like minute healing and hypodermic hemorrhaging, are vital reactions. They only occur while the body is still alive. Thus, if there were no vital reactions to this broken bone, the fracture happened... It must have occurred after the person was already dead.
That would have to be the case. Oh, and to be clear, there's no way that the body was damaged during transport.
Well, of course not.
Take the utmost precautions when moving bodies.
Huh. I hadn't considered that until you brought it up. Still, I'll take your word for it.
Well, when you're investigating, you have to always assume that your evidence was not damaged.
If his index finger was broken, using the hand would have caused a great deal of pain. With that in mind, he shouldn't have been able to use his right hand all that well.
You know, this is leading more and more to homicide every time I look. Okay. Okay, so I guess I'm not missing anything. I am missing something. What do we have here? No. Okay.
This seems odd.
Oh, sorry.
Because...
I gotta back out of this, actually. Because I want to hear it again.
There was a wound in the left wrist and a fractured finger on the right hand. This seems odd because...
So if he cut his left wrist open, and his fractured finger was on the right hand, that if this was a suicide, then he would have had to use his injured hand in order to make that cut, which doesn't make any sense considering how clean the cut was. So this is the only answer that makes sense to me.
Yes, the deceased would have had to hold the knife in his injured hand to cut his left wrist. Then he would have had to cut deep enough to sever the artery, putting pressure on his broken finger. Even if he was right-handed, this situation just doesn't add up.
Hello, Dr. Kimishima.
Got the small talk. What do you want?
So cold.
Well, she was cold in the first game.
HQ's questioned the electrician that the neighbor mentioned. I've sent you the recordings. It seems HQ already knew who he was, so there wasn't a problem.
Now we'll find out why that electrician went to the deceased's room.
Alright, let's listen to the electrician's testimony.
Yes? Oh, yes, that's right. A murder? Yes, that's fine. He said his air was broken and needed... He said his air...
He fixed the air.
Okay.
We should focus on that.
Okay, so the electrician was fixing the air conditioning. That's a reasonable reason
There's
to be
nothing
there.
odd about having a repairman come to work on the ventilation system. But, at the very least, Dennis was still alive when the electrician came. We need to learn about the deceased's condition at that time.